Joel Fitzgibbon, is the Prime Minister right to be singling out Sydney with a week-long visit to the West?
Well, what's extraordinary, Tim, is the fuss. I mean, the Prime Minister's going to one of the country's most important region to sell her message, to listen to what people have to say, to give them an opportunity to discuss their issues or challenges or aspirations with her. And yet we've got this bizarre media reaction. You know, Prime Ministers go out to regions all of the time. It's not unusual, certainly, for a leader to go to Sydney's West. And you've just got to ask yourself what's going on in the media that such a simple visit has caused such a stir.
OK, is our media becoming hypercritical of the Prime Minister and Labor then?
Well, I'm wondering whether there's something in the water, Tim. I mean, again, the Prime Minister's going out to listen and learn and hopefully to assist. And that should be a good news story. So there's something very, very strange happening in Australian politics.
Josh, is the Prime Minister copping too much flack for simply making an ordinary prime ministerial visit to an important part of our country?
Look, Tim, this is a stunt and it's born out of her political weakness. She's looked at the numbers and they show that there are 10 Labor members who hold seats in Western Sydney under 10%. So this is about, protecting those seats and protecting the three Bs, Bradbury, Burke and Bowen, all ministers in her government whose seats are now under threat. The people in Western Sydney are worried about a number of things that the Prime Minister has no plan to fix. Namely, they're worried about the increased cost of living, and we've said we'll get rid of the carbon tax to do that. They're worried about the boats, and we've said we'll introduce a whole range of new measures to stop the boats coming as we did in the Howard government. They're worried about the guns coming in, and Jason Clare has no answer to that. And they're worried about infrastructure, and we've said we'll support WestConnect, which with $1.5 billion of federal government funding in order to meet some of the infrastructure burdens that are being felt by the people in Western Sydney. So we have a plan for Western Sydney. We're not discovering it 5 years in, as the Prime Minister is, into a Labor government.
That's a nice political speech, Josh. But
it's the truth.
But it was backed by very, very little substance, to be frank, in policy terms. In policy terms, no substance.
What, so getting rid of the carbon tax, stopping the boats and also putting money into a major infrastructure project like WestConnect?
The best way to do
means
cost
nothing.
Of living is to manage the economy, which we've
only failed
done very, very well. Turning back the boats, it's a catch cry, but all the experts in the field say it doesn't work. And talking about infrastructure is fine, but you've got to back it with some cash, mate, and I've seen no cash.
We've seen $1.5
Joel Fitzgibbon, what's your assessment of just how deep the anger is with Labor? How dire is Labor's situation become?
Well, we can't sugarcoat it, Tim. The polling is bad for Labor, and there are a myriad of factors, including, of course...
Including your Prime Minister.
No, including the brand in New South Wales, which has been tarnished by the remnants of the former state government, which made some mistakes in its 16th year, as long-term governments do, and of course by proceedings at ICAC. These are huge hurdles for the party's brand, but we've just got to get out there and sell our message to remain competitive, to give ourselves the best chance of winning the next election.
OK, do you agree with Newspolls finding ostensibly yesterday that a change to Kevin Rudd, while it would be welcomed by a large portion of voters, would also upset a fairly large portion, so the net effect would be a very little benefit to Labor?
Well, what I do know, Tim, is that Kevin Rudd remains a very popular individual out there in the marketplace, and that's why it is important that he continues to make a contribution on the campaign trail, which he's been doing in a range of seats over the course of the last few months. That's a positive contribution, and look, we need all the help we can get at the moment, and he's a substantial contributor.
And sorry, Josh, what comments have you got with regard to Kevin Rudd?
Josh heard something he likes.
Well, no, I mean, Joel says there's no sugarcoating. To mix the metaphor here, I think Kevin Rudd will be the bitter pill that they'll all be forced to swallow, because at the end of the day, they can see the numbers, they can see those 10 seats under 10% in Western Sydney, and they will do something dramatic, and that is they'll change to another leader. I think that is what will happen, and he'll do. And Kevin Rudd is likely to become the next leader of the Labor Party with Joel Fitzgibbon's support. It is 1 year to the day Tim, since Kevin Rudd launched that fateful challenge last year, and his numbers are definitely building. They say 45 plus, he needs 52 votes, and with every bad poll he gets that little bit closer. And I think when it comes to the Labor Party caucus, there'll be enough of them that will see the writing on the wall, and they'll swallow that bitter pill, which means Kevin Rudd comes back.
All this talk is happening in the media, and of course it's happening in Josh's party room as they hope and pray for sort of chaos amongst the Labor ranks. We're not talking about leadership.
You're not talking
change.
about the polls. You're not talking about
well,
the
we're talking about the polls.
Simon Crean
and
yesterday
what
said
we
that.
need to do to make ourselves more competitive again. And of course the answer is to get out there, to sell our very, very progressive message, positive message, and that's what Julia Gillard will be doing in Sydney's West next week.
Josh Frydenberg, Joel Fitzgibbon, you've done a great job sitting together in the same studio today. We look forward to talking again next week.
Thanks, Tim.